Okay, and then,
Hi, I'm Tyler Kepler.
And I'm Peter Dockley. We are Team Tablet, and our group members are Brandon, Vince, and Courtney. I think the first thing that we want to talk about is the password situation and remembering passwords. I don't know if you want to touch up on that.
I think it would definitely be easier for them if they had their passwords already set up. It would take more time if we had to set that up for them, and it's easier for them coming into class knowing what they're doing, so we wouldn't have any complications.
I mean, I totally agree. I think one of the biggest issues is that a lot of them didn't have their Google Play account.
Yes.
So no one really had any email set up, and that took, I don't know about you, but I feel like that took a good amount of our class time.
Also, people didn't know what Google Play even was. You know, it's confusion, because this stuff is confusing. So yeah, I agree with that. I feel like if they knew going into the class, it would have been easier and would have ran more smoothly.
If they just had the account set up. Also, I think one of the biggest issues down there was the Wi-Fi connections.
Yes.
I think the Wi-Fi connections, there was way too many Wi-Fi connections. And I don't know about you, but when people were trying to set up their Google Play account, some Wi-Fi connections were weak, some were too, like, everyone seemed to have complications with the Wi-Fi.
Of course, and the password would
Yeah.
work for some, you had better connections, and then when we would get into the Wi-Fi, it would be great. 5 minutes later, it would go out of connection. So it definitely was frustrating for us and the students.
And I think they should just have one central Wi-Fi. I know they had about 7 different connections in one small building, which I think caused
Yeah,
too many issues.
a lot of people trying to connect at one time can cause a lot of trafficking. So yeah, of course.
I think the next thing we're talking about is the comprehension of the program. So like, I know we were trying not to use slang terms that we use every single day. I don't know, like some slang terms that a senior wouldn't know about.
Yes, yeah.
Like LOL.
Yeah, of course. I feel like it'd be easier for us to get more, like I said, on their level and make it easier for them to relate, because they don't use the same type of
Yeah.
slang as we do, and they're not 22 years old. Like, you know, this stuff is challenging for them, and it's a struggle. So the easier we can make it for them, the more successful the class will be.
And I think, yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more. I think we should probably go over some key terms
Yeah.
before we did it, so that, because I know a couple classes we had people where they were talking about hashtags. They didn't know. People were just
Yeah.
throwing out random key terms that had nothing to do with our topic because they just didn't understand and they'd heard of it.
Yeah, of course.
So
Yeah.
like, I think going over some big key terms on the internet as a whole,
Yeah.
or social media as a whole, would be really beneficial to them before starting the class.
And in everyday language, we don't abbreviate things. When we use technology like computers and tablets and iPhones, we tend to abbreviate things.
Yeah.
So it throws them off, and it's going to be confusing.
Like apps, I think apps was probably one of the biggest one. No one really knew what an app was, even though that's what a tablet was based around.
Yeah,
I think it would have been
definitely.
good explaining it
Exactly.
before everything
I
started.
agree.
I think that something was good is show us they know. We didn't use handouts. I think handouts would have really been helpful.
Okay.
Even though they had a manual that they were allowed to buy, I think if you had some handouts that you give out after class, if we would have done that, I think it would have been more beneficial to them, because they could have, even if we just gave our PowerPoint slides to them, print them out, so they could just go back and refer to what we taught them.
And I agree, because when you're sitting in class and you're looking up at a PowerPoint, it is hard to see, and sometimes they can't understand the reading on the PowerPoint, so it can be difficult for them. So yeah, I feel like that is a good idea, leaving them with kind of like little hints or reminders or stuff we use every day when we access, you know, tablets and a computer, that they can take home with them and try when they get there.
And I think also too, that would save us a lot of time, because I think beforehand, before each class, they would ask us questions that happened from last week, and I think if they had handouts or something, they could just refer to the handouts and say, hey, listen, you know, we have the handout from last week, just go back and look at that instead of wasting more class time for them to learn.
Yeah, and no one likes to read a whole bunch of information. If you make this handout simple, it's going to be easy for them to follow, and they're going to find it more useful. So yeah, I agree with that.
Also, I want to emphasize some like relationships. I know, but me and you had some close relationships with some of the
Of course, I
seniors.
met some great people, yeah.
And I think that kind of made them want to come back to class.
Yeah, for sure.
Because we were nice, we were also very patient. I think
Engaging, yeah. We took the time to listen to their wants and needs, and what they really wanted to learn, and it's more about that. It's also getting on a people level, like, you know, you want to be able to communicate with them and have small talk outside of just teaching them about tablets. You know, you want to be a good person and get to know them on an individual level. So,
I think that also builds on, it's like easier to work as a team and to cooperate easier. When
Yeah.
everyone knows each other, I think everyone felt pretty comfortable with us because we were friendly, we didn't bash them, we encouraged them.
Yeah,
to do
and
better.
Brandon, Vince, and Courtney did a great job, and there's 5 of us, and there's probably only 15, 20 students, so I felt like we got around to each person and was able to help them, and we did a great job with that, yeah.
Yeah, and I know, I think Vince touched up on it, or Courtney, or Brandon, but I know they were talking about how failure is okay. Failure, I think a lot of the seniors were bashing themselves where they were getting mad because they didn't know how to use a tablet or something, or they didn't know how to use a certain thing.
Which is understandable, like, of course, that's why they're there taking the class to learn, and they're expecting us to teach them, so it's understandable, and we don't want to diminish their confidence, we want to make them feel that it's something that they can learn, so.
I totally agree, and I know the one lady actually was getting really upset. A couple of them would get extremely upset for something so small. It was like just turning on their tablet.
Mhm.
They didn't know how to do it, and they were getting pissed. And I think it was kind of, I should have said that way. Okay.
But no, I understand what you're
Yeah,
saying,
exactly.
and the easier we can make it for them and the less frustrating we can make it on them, then hopefully they won't get like that in the future. But you're right, you know, we can only do so much for each person, but I feel like we did a great job, and we were patient with them, and we were kind, and I feel like we got some really good feedback from our students. I feel like they really liked us.
And the only thing I think there's a problem is that sometimes there is too much, there's some problems that we can't help them with. Like they might have a tablet problem.
Yeah,
And
malfunctions, yeah.
malfunctions, like the camera wasn't working or something, we tried.
That was
everything.
interesting.
Yeah, that
That
was
was
really
really
interesting.
interesting.
So, okay.
Where's my money?
That was like
7 3 minutes.
That was more than 3.